All right, back live from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. There's a good-sized crowd here, lively atmosphere. Let's get ready for the first of our two live fights. Demetrius Andrade defending at 154 pounds, a title belt that he won in his last outing in a fight for a vacant title against another former American Olympian, Bonas Martirosyan. The tale of the tape for Andrade against his opponent for tonight, Brian Rose of England. It's a 3-year age advantage for Andrade at age 26. He also has a 1-inch height advantage, 6'1" to 6 feet. They're both relatively tall for the division. Arm length, a 1/2-inch advantage for Rose, measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. And they both weighed in just under the 154-pound division limit. There's a look at Brian Rose, who says he's from Blackpool, England, although he lives in Manchester. He's lost just once in his 27 professional fights. That was on a stone-cold knockout. But tonight marks the very first time that Rose will fight outside his native England. Being here is a victory in and of itself. And his journey to tonight's title fight includes a far too intimate look at the dangers of his chosen profession.
In 2009, I fought Jason Rushton. It was a straightforward fight, beating him every round. Got to the end of the fight and he collapsed on his way back to the changing rooms. He actually died, but was resuscitated, brought back to life. And then the day after I went to see him, and he had family and he had kids, and it was devastating. You know, it really affected me as a fighter mentally. And I hung up the gloves. I said to Bobby, I can't do it anymore, you know, this could happen to me. I didn't realise that could happen to someone, you know, it's just boxing to me. I've seen psychologists, step by step, built my confidence, and now I'm a better fighter for it. I don't mind taking a shot. I've never been so mentally and physically prepared for a fight. The journey I've been on, the ups and downs, has got me to a world title. Win or lose, it's a dream come true, but I'm going to make that dream come true on Saturday when I beat Demetrius Andrade.
Here comes Brian Rose.
I was about 6 years old, and I believe my dad had a gym. I was just running around, hitting the bag, jumping off the ropes, acting like I was Macho Man and, you know, Jake the Snake. You know, when I got a chance to, I learned a little boxing and just watched everybody else in the gym. It just became a part of my life and developed the talent and the skill, and we're here today.
Sometimes, you know, these kids, they form their own opinions and their own ideas. Other people try to get into them, get next to them, and they start tearing them, away a little bit. And, as a father, sometimes you just got to back off.
You know, the story is written, and we got a father-son breakup for about a year or two, a couple of fights.
Then we put it all back together, and everything's fine now.
Andrade landed a huge right hook.
Biggest shots of the night for Andrade.
To reunite on a big stage like winning a world title, I mean, can't get any better than that.
Here comes Andrade. Andre Ward, American amateur boxing has fallen on hard times. Neither the 2008 Olympic team, of which Andrade was a member, nor the 2012 contingent in London could get much of anything done. But he has that Olympic pedigree. How far can he go?
I think with Andrade, the sky's the limit. He's a former U.S. Olympian, like you just mentioned. He's a tall left-hander with a tremendous skill set, and he's got a boatload of confidence, and he backs it up with his work ethic. If he stays focused, I think he could be champion for a very long time.
Yeah, and there's pressure for him to keep winning because he has a professional approach that views boxing not as showbiz, but as a sporting event, which is his prerogative. And he's so good, he's a real blue chipper, that he should continue to win. But when you have that approach, when you let the fight develop and say, hey, as long as I get the W, boy, Andre, the pressure is on to come away with the W each and every time.
Sometimes there's a certain ceiling for fighters who go their entire careers trained by their fathers. Some of them ultimately exit. He's already had a couple of on and off moments with his dad, but they're back together now and seemingly very copacetic. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Barclays Center here in Brooklyn, New York, USA. Tonight, it's a World Championship doubleheader live on HBO, and it's all presented by Art Palullo's Banner Promotions, Top Rank Incorporated, along with Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing, first bout presented in association with Eddie Hearn. Sponsored by Tecate con Caracter and Fram Oil Change, done right, along with Cortizia Vodka, sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission. At ringside, the three judges scoring this first bout, Julie Letterman, John Potteray, and Alan Rubenstein. And inside the ring, in charge of the action at the bell, referee Michael Griffin. And now, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Light Middleweight Championship of the World. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with green, official weight 153 1/2 pounds. His professional record stands at 25 victories, including 7 knockouts, with only 1 defeat and 1 draw. From Blackpool, Lancashire, England, the challenger, former Lonsdale belt titleist, and the WBO Intercontinental Champion, Brian the Lion Rose. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing purple, weighing in officially at 153 3/4 pounds. As a professional, a perfect record. 20 fights, 20 victories, including 13 knockouts. He's from Providence, Rhode Island, USA. The reigning, defending, undefeated WBO light middleweight champion of the world, Demetrius Boo-Boo Andrade.
Gentlemen, let's go. Okay, Brian. Demetrius. Let's go.
You men both receive my instructions. Obey my commands. Protect yourselves all the time. Touch gloves now. God bless you both.
Blue chip American Olympians like Andrade are supposed to beat up light punching underdogs like Brian Rose. But Rose didn't come here to get beat up. He said, look, I'm going to be throwing and maybe missing more punches than ever before, but I've shown up to win. Maybe that brings out the best in Andrade.
Ready?
Ring the bell, man. Come on, fellas.
If you're the kind of fan who watched the undercard prior to Martinez and Cotto last Saturday night, you may remember a fighter from Argentina who won a 154-pound bout against Jorge Melendez of Puerto Rico. His name was Javier Maciel. Maciel is a tough customer and a hard puncher. He's the guy whom Brian Rose managed to beat in a split decision in a title shot eliminator last summer in England to earn the chance to fight Andrade here tonight. Many British writers at ringside felt last summer that Maciel was the logical winner and should have been chosen as the winner over Rose. Maciel, to his credit, when we asked him in the fighter meeting about it last week, said, no, I don't think so. Rose outworked me. He got in more good punches in the late rounds. I think that the decision was correct. How many fighters say that?
We see Andrade's gotten off to a good start.
Down goes Rose on a straight left hand. And in his title-winning effort against Vanes Martirosyan, it was Demetrius Andrade who went down in the first round, then came back to dominate the rest of the fight. Tonight, he makes the point against Rose in the very first minute and a half of the fight.
But I think Andrade, it's right on the money even before the knockdown. Andrade looked sensational. I mean, he was hitting him at will and finding the distance and just doing everything you want to see from a guy like this at this point in his career.
Yeah, he's doing what he has to do. You're either going to get better or get worse after you win a title, and Andrade's the type of guy that's going to get better, and he's showing that tonight.
That's the second time in Rose's career that he's tasted the canvas. The first time was when he was knocked cold by Max Maxwell. And it's bound to be a little bit demoralizing for Rose to go down in the first minute and a half of the fight. Now he has to regain his bearings, so to speak, and keep going against Demetrius Andrade.
And Rose just landed a good right hand for good measure to let Andrade know that I'm still here.
Andrade can get caught with that punch when he pulls straight back like that, which has happened against Martirosyan a couple times.
Another solid left hand from Demetrius Andrade, who has opened explosively here in Brooklyn.
I think Andrade has some swelling, excuse me, not swelling, but a little redness over the eye from that right hand from Rose.
Yeah, maybe something's going on that on the left eye.
So both guys have gotten in a big shot here in the first round. The difference is that Andrade's shot put Rose on his back.
Right! No punches. Come back.
Demetrius Andrade looks very quick with his left hand tonight. Round one, a likely 10-8 round for Demetrius Andrade. Good start.
And I told you you can't do that. You can't stand in front of me. You know you can't. You can't do it, son. You've got to keep moving. You're not mobile enough. You're standing in front of him. Are you going to stop doing that for me? You've got to stop doing that, Brian. You know what I mean? You've got to start moving your head and moving around the ring. It's just teeing off on you, son. He's tapping you with that backhand. You're not moving to your left or anything. So you've got to start moving your head, son. You know what I mean? You've got to start moving them feet.
Andrade got off to a good start in that first round. Good jab and a good straight left right down the pipe. He let Rose know that he's in America and he's in with the champion in that first round.
Now you're going to see a look at Sharon Andrade, Demetrius' mother, celebrating at ringside, celebrating for her son, celebrating for her husband, too, who's the man in the corner with Demetrius.
Don't hold him. Come back.
CompuBox numbers in round one showed that solid right hand Rose landed, put a red mark above Demetrius Andrade's left eye, was one of only 3 punches CompuBox found him landing in the round. Meanwhile, Andrade threw 74 punches, a very active first round.
I think Rose is going to have to make up his mind, and he's going to have to sell out and be more offensively aggressive with Andrade if he's going to put in some work for the later rounds. He can't sit around and let Andrade get comfortable.
Particularly because Rose is not a big puncher.
Andrade is looking extremely sharp tonight.
Andrade's ambidextrous, Can do a lot of things with his right hand. Chooses to box as a southpaw, although when first he put on gloves, he had a conventional stance. And the southpaw stance is serving him well here tonight. Rose is on record as having said, I don't like fighting southpaws, it's awkward.
Well, so far, Andrade's shown that he can go upside Rose's head with either hand. Totally ambidextrous. I mean, he's hitting him practically at will.
Let him go, don't punch. Don't punch, don't punch.
You got to respect Rose. He doesn't seem to have the physical answers right now, but mentally, he seems to still be engaged.
He landed that good right hand right after he went down, and you can still see the effects of it in Andrade's left eye. But against Matarosen, who is a puncher, that shot results in a knockdown, and against Rose, who's not, it doesn't. Rose has got to get busy.
Andre, you told us earlier this evening that Demetrius Andrade spent some time in one of your training camps a couple of years ago. What kinds of things was he working on? What do you think he learned when he was in your camp?
Well, he wasn't in my specific training camp, but he spent probably about a year in the Bay Area with my coach and godfather, Virgil Hunter. And I think that was during the time that him and his father had some issues. And one thing I just took from it was just his work ethic. I mean, the kid is an extremely hard worker. You see a lot of guys with talent, they don't want to work hard. That's not the case with Andrade, and the kid's extremely confident. He sized me up a couple times. We never got in there, but he definitely wanted to.
That's good for him that he didn't.
My impression is that if you're not totally dedicated, Virgil Hunter wouldn't be interested in working with you.
He won't do it.
Second round coming to a close. Brian Rose has gotten his feet wet a little bit more and threw more punches in the second round, but Demetrius Andrade continues to have his way through the first 2 rounds in Brooklyn. 2 weeks from tonight, Terrence Crawford defends his lightweight title for the hometown fans in Omaha, Nebraska against former featherweight titleist Yuriorkis Gamboa. On the undercard, Matt Korobov against Jose Uzcategui.
Okay, let's not let him get lucky. Okay? Now, when you go to work, just let him have the outside, step your foot on the outside, and go to work. All right? You can get some of that body work, a little money punch.
Andrade is really on point tonight. You see him flick the right jab and land another good straight left right on the nose of Rose. And you see it again. He blinds Rose with the right jab and comes right down the pipe once again. Rose is going to have to make the adjustments if he's going to be around in these later rounds.
It's exactly the same action that put Rose on his back in the first round.
Notice about Andrade, it's not that he's the tallest junior middleweight in the world. Not only does he have long arms, but he gets full extension on those shots. His reach is even longer than if you just measured it. He really is able to hit guys from a distance with authority.
I think one of his strengths, and I'm talking about Andrade, is he's mastered his distance. He knows where he needs to be most effective.
Offensively.
Offensively. And defensively.
You think so?
I don't think he's, I mean, we all make mistakes. It's a boxing match. You got another guy who's got 2 arms. It's going to happen, but I think for the most part, he's very defensively responsible.
He also seems to have that Gumby-like elasticity that you see from a lot of really gifted athletes.
Yeah, he's formless. He doesn't have a set style, and that's very difficult to deal with, especially when you're a left-hander.
Really nice pivot just now, as you guys were talking about it, where he winds up on the side of Rose, where Rose can't hit him, and he's in good position to hit Rose.
Down goes Rose on a beautiful counter right hook. Absolutely perfect counter right hook shot as Rose was coming forward.
6, 7.
Second knockdown of the fight.
All right.
Only the third knockdown of Brian Rose's career.
A lot of time left on the clock right now, fellas.
You get the impression Brian Rose has never seen the kind of talent in front of him that he's seeing from Demetrius Andrade tonight.
There's definitely levels to this.
Yeah, and Andrade is in with the right guy tonight, but nevertheless, he is looking sensational.
And he's doing what he's supposed to do with a guy like Rose, taking nothing away from Rose.
By the way, if he was doing half of this, it would be an impressive performance.
Another counter right hook lands well.
He saw very early that Rose didn't have anything for him, and he totally has been just steamrolling him since then.
Great body shot by Andrade. Another body shot to finish off the combination. hammering Brian Rose with a variety of punches from different angles.
Yeah,
Once again, catches Rose with the right hook as he's coming in.
I think sometimes Andrade gets caught backing straight up because his distance is so good. He has such a good idea of distance offensively because he can hit the guy from so far away that he feels very comfortable where he is.
Yeah, the amount of times that Andrade gets hitting around, if I was his father, I'd take that.
Uppercut! It's there! It's coming! He's giving it to you! There it is!
Heard his father say uppercut, he's giving it to you, and Andrade took it.
Up and under with the left hand. But the key feature of the round has been right hooks. Well-timed right hooks catching Rose as he's coming in. Now let's listen to Paul Andrade talking to his son between rounds.
Hey, even though you're getting off on him, he's trying to let you turn into that right hand. Be smart, you understand? It's the only thing he can throw at you. Shoot the shoulder jab, rotate into the double hook. Bang, body and head. Shoot the shoulder jab, rotate into the champ.
Right.
Okay?
He's okay. Listen, let's get going. Come on. He stood there in front of him. You can't do it. You've got to get your feet and get moving out of the way and move to the left. You're standing there. Step out.
We've highlighted the straight left from Andrade in the first 2 rounds. Now the right hook, the check hook, is all of a sudden waking up, and that's also a problem for Rose right now. And here we see it again, a beautiful check hook right on the temple. Down goes Rose.
Our shots through round 3 by CompuBox count. Andrade 54 of 122. Rose 8 of 46. Mismatch so far in our first fight here in Brooklyn. Steve Weisfeld, how do you have it through 3?
Jim, I have it 30-25 Andrade, 2 10-8 rounds. In the first round, in the third round, anything Rose is doing, Andrade's doing better. He's punching harder with more effect. He's busier, he's quicker, he's better defensively, a greater variety of punches. So after 3 rounds, I have Andrade up by 5 points.
I think Rose is realizing right now that Andrade is a little better than advertised. Andrade showing many different looks with his feet, with his hands. Anytime Rose thinks about doing something, he gets hit with a punch just like that.
And it's not just a styles issue, it's a different caliber fighter. And when you realize Rose, yeah, it was a close fight with Maciel, but we saw Maciel fight very well last week. And Rose beat him close and has absolutely nothing for Andrade, is 2 levels below him.
And after the last round, when Andrade was so effective with the check hook, he's gone back to the 1-2 combination, landing the straight left hand in this round.
Yeah, Andrade's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, and that's what makes him who he is. You get used to one thing, he switches up and does something else. And he's got 12 rounds, so he can keep mixing it up on you. It's very frustrating and it's very demoralizing.
One thing that sets great fighters apart. Can you follow a thought process? Can you stay coherent through 12 rounds? Can you remember what happened the last time and avoid having it happen in this round?
But Rose has come a long way across the Atlantic. He hasn't come to lay down, and he told us in the fighter meeting that he banks on the later rounds, and he thinks that Andrade has struggled with the weight, and he feels like if he can weather the storm in the first 6 rounds, that down the stretch will be his time. That remains to be seen.
Some storm to weather.
I don't know, it doesn't look like Rose makes it to the stretch run here, the beating he's taking. See Andrade throw those little jabs that he knows is going to get caught. Just probing the defenses of Rose, looking for the reaction, setting up the combination that's going to follow 10 seconds later.
He's trying to pick the lock.
Still to come, newly crowned 140-pound champ Ruslan Provodnikov defends his 140-pound title for the first time. Provodnikov, who's gained enormous popularity in his last 2 fights, looks to build on his fast-rising star with another crowd-focusing performance tonight against Chris Algieri. Native New Yorker from Huntington out on Long Island, former kickboxing champion, now 19-0 as a professional boxer after having taken up boxing well past his 23rd birthday. Not an easy thing to do.
Okay. Have a little round where you're moving and looking for the shots. Don't try and get that 1-2 off, it's not working, you know what I mean? Drop it downstairs, you know what I mean? Your feet have got to be in distance. Have another drink, son. Come on. Let's go.
You're right, bro.
Brian Rose's trainer, Bobby Rimmer, is from Manchester, and that's the reason why Rose lives in Manchester, and the reason he says that he's from Blackpool instead of Manchester, because his social relationships, his friendships are in Blackpool, but he trains in Manchester with Rimmer. Rimmer was once a member of the Ricky Hatton camp, an assistant to Hatton's trainer. That's the most prominent fighter he's ever worked with.
So far, it's not for lack of effort, but if Andrade brought in a guy at this level for sparring, getting ready for this fight, they're probably looking for something a little better. This is a huge talent gap.
I think the challenge for Andrade tonight is to challenge himself to take it to another level if the fight stays like this, to not let this fight get into a pattern where it's the same thing every round, but challenge himself to get Rose out of it.
Well, he's already shown, as we pointed out, a variety of offensive skills, a lot in the toolbox, as Andre Ward put it, and it'll be interesting to see how frequently he can vary his approach and continue to keep Rose off balance as the fight progresses.
And as outclassed as Rose is, I want to continue to stress the point. He's a tough guy. He's getting hit with some heavy shots to the body, to the head, and he's still in there. He's not winning, and he's far behind, but mentally he seems to still want to mix it up. Or at least he's willing to take the punches that Andrade's hitting him with.
Which is another way of saying it's important for Andrade not to allow his concentration to lapse, despite the one-sided competition.
You can get bored doing the same thing every round, even for, especially a fighter as talented and as gifted as Andrade. It almost comes easy.
And I know that good right hand from Rose.
Really good right hand by Rose.
Solid, straight to the body.
Another good right hand by Rose.
Andrade is susceptible to that shot.
Rose is taking some shots right now. He's taking shots in terms of offensively. He's going for the home run, and I like to see that.
Yeah, he just missed with a big right hand that could have done some damage if it had happened to be on target.
Absolutely right.
But Andrade continues to hold the initiative in every way, and he's doing a good job with his feet, turning Rose, creating angles, moving side to side, making it difficult for Rose to get anything off while Andrade's standing still. Harder to hit a moving target, and Demetrius Andrade has been on the move against Brian Rose. July 26, middleweight destroyer Gennady Gennadievich Golovkin returns to the ring against Daniel Geale. Also that night, undefeated heavyweights Bryant Jennings and Mike Perez square off.
Yourself, son. You've got to start putting a little bit of work in. You've got to start bringing them shots up inside. You know what I mean? Hey, you've got to try and claw your way back into this fight, Brian. You understand me? And you're doing it, but you've got to start doing it a little bit better. How's your gas?
Right here, okay? He's just twisted over to try to twist it in. You see his body twist, you promote him more, all right? Take that right hand out of the game, all right? Let's double here, let's work here, okay? Let's work. Okay, let's work.
In the 5th round, according to CompuBox, Rose landed a fight-high 10 shots out of 33 punches. That was the good news for Rose. The bad news, Andrade landed 17 of 67. Numbers have been pretty steady for Andrade all the way through the fight, throwing about 70 punches per round, landing about 20 to 25, and a lot of them power shots.
I think now we're entering the phase of the fight, Andre, that you were talking about earlier, okay? Andrade, you're much better than this guy. You look excellent so far. Now it's time to start thinking about closing the show.
Yeah, I think that's what the key is for Andrade right now.
Pins Rose against the ropes. Goes hard to the body with the right hand. Trying to get a left hand through Rose's guard upstairs. Rose holding his gloves very close together in front of his face, making it hard for Andrade to score on the chin. But he lands that one, and he lands that one too. Another hard body shot.
Good idea if Rose is just going to, sit there with the shell defense. Might as well take free whacks at the body.
One of the few deficiencies of fighting as a southpaw is that the body shot most available to you doesn't allow you to hit the liver. Only conventional fighters get that chance.
I think Rose's best shot is to continue to let the straight shots go, namely the right hand, and not to look to take Andrade's head off because he's never going to hit him that way. Just shoot it and hope that he hits something.
Andrade's doing a good job this round and in the few previous rounds, focusing on hammering that right hand to the body and wearing Rose down.
Rose's only shot, it seems to me, is, an act of God, a natural disaster in there. Andrade breaks his hand or something. What other way can Rose possibly be competitive in this fight? He's being totally dominated in every facet of fighting.
But we're in the 6th round. Demetrius Andrade has never in his career to this point had a knockout past the 6th round. 20 fights for Andrade, 13 knockouts. Boxer puncher, can win a decision, or if the opportunity arises, can knock you out as well. Here, he's landed a lot of heavy shots upstairs on Brian Rose and has put him on the canvas twice.
The body shots in this round in particular, I think.
Good uppercut by Andrade. You heard his father, Paul, asking for that shot a couple of rounds ago.
Seems to me that he's starting to try to set Rose up for the knockout.
Now an uppercut with the other hand, and there's blood on the nose of Brian Rose. What a combination there by Demetrius Andrade.
Seen enough? I've seen enough.
But referee Michael Griffin hasn't seen enough.
You can't handle your turn when you turn
So we're going to
him.
continue to watch
You
it.
see that? Okay, so make it easy on yourself. Okay? Doing great. Good. Nice combinations in there. Breathe. 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 All right. That's how you turn him. And get those double shots. I told you from the beginning. Everything's a double shot. Because he just holds his defense looking for one shot. That's all he's trying to do. And load up on one shot. Don't give him that one shot.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. Don't talk about it. He's had it before. Okay, seconds out. You okay? Yeah. You gonna finish? No. He's okay, yeah.
Well, it's a CompuBox wipeout so far. If I saw the number correctly, Andrade has landed 123 punches, and Rose has only landed a total of 29 so far in the fight. Steve Weisfeld, how does that translate on your scorecard?
Jim, I have it 60 to 52 for Andrade. One of Rose's many problems is that he seems to have a my turn, your turn approach, while Andrade, it's my turn again. That's why, in my view, Andrade has rarely lost a round in his entire career. Great uppercut. After 6 rounds, Andrade's up by 8 points.
I think Michael Griffin would be within his rights as referee, stopping this anytime. Andrade is putting heavy punishment on Brian Rose.
At the end of the last round, it was obvious, I think, that the fight was over. It was not that it was ever competitive, but it had no chance to get competitive.
I agree. The ref needs to keep a good close watch on Rose. He's a tough, proud fighter. You don't want him to be too tough for his own good. This is getting real bad in there right now.
Yeah, his nose is spurting blood out of the bridge. And this is...
This should be the end right here, guys.
And there goes Michael Griffin stopping the fight. Just at the moment when Bobby Rimmer, the trainer for Brian Rose, had mounted the steps because he was getting ready to stop it, and the doctor had come with him, and that doctor had already intimated to our people here at ringside that he thinks Rose's nose is broken, and certainly it looked that way during the round.
A more satisfying ending for the crowd, for the fans, certainly for Rose, too. He's a competitive guy, but an unnecessary third of a round of punishment.
Yep. Well, you were exactly right when you signed off on it at the end of 6. But then we wouldn't have seen those beautiful uppercuts in the 7th round. And that was quite a display of uppercuts.
You know that at a similar stage in lots of young fighters' careers, when you start to be exposed to them here on HBO, it'll sound like a hype job. You guys are talking about these guys like they're so great. Look who they're in with. Who they're in with is who they're in with at this point in their career. And then they're tasked with looking as good as possible, with doing the best job they can. And even though the level of opposition was what it was, you could hardly have asked more from Andrade than what he did tonight.
And you can't argue with pedigree. And Andrade has the pedigree. And like I said before, if he stays focused and continues to work hard, he should be champion for a long time.
Pretty spectacularly impressive display of skills by Demetrius Andrade against an opponent the governing body thought was good enough to fight for the title, but who was hopelessly outclassed here in the ring. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the particulars on the TKO.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Barclays Center, referee Michael Griffin calls a halt to the contest. The official time, 1 minute, 19 seconds of round number 7. The winner by technical knockout, and still the undefeated WBO light middleweight champion of the world, Demetrius "Boo-Boo" Andrade.
Final CompuBox numbers, and that was a graphic and somewhat disturbing shot of Brian Rose's nose. You saw how it was rearranged during the fight. Andrade landing 149 out of 452, 33%, pretty decent connect percentage. Rose was never really in the fight, knocked down early in the first round and under the gun entirely the rest of the way, 30 out of 179. Power shots, big gap there. Andrade landing 109 more, throwing 188 more, landing at a 44% connect percentage, and frankly, it looked better than that. Looked like he was landing 60% of his power punches, the way Brian Rose was functioning as a target in there for Demetrius Andrade. And we'll take a look at punch zone, show you where the punches landed. Punches landing on Demetrius Andrade, negligible, not many at all. A total of 30, evenly distributed to the head and the body. 104 headshots absorbed by Rose. Look at the 42 body shots landed on the left side of Rose's body by Demetrius Andrade's right hand. That helped to set up all of the heavy artillery upstairs. Boxing After Dark is in Brooklyn, New York, coming to you with a big night of boxing from the Barclays Center, where our main event is coming up moments from now. The Siberian Rocky, Ruslan Probodnikov, an all-action fighter if ever there was one, risks his newly 140-pound title for the first time against undefeated skilled technician Chris Algieri. Last October, Probodnikov invaded